Okay, good evening. I think we are live. It's a while since I've done one of these, so hopefully all smoothly. Do we need to wait for people to join? Yeah. I'm asking Catherine, who's behind the camera. Okay.
Okay.
Well, so we will give.
We might be just talking to ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think that's the idea anyway. So we'll give it a few minutes?
Yeah.
Well, not a few minutes, a few seconds.
Good.
Okay. Welcome. Catherine has told us that some people are joining, so that's good. I guess we will quietly get going, and then as more people join, they can join. But my name's James Wills. I'm here with my dad, Anthony. Hopefully I'm sure we've met some of you people. John, who?
It's John Bourne.
John Bourne. John Bourne. Okay, yeah. Hi, John. So we have sent out some tasting packs. So the tasting is of the 4 whiskies that were in these packs. But if you are joining and you don't have the packs, welcome. You will get value from this, and you can ask any questions you want to ask that might be completely unrelated to the whiskies. But as I said, we do have the tasting packs, and the tasting will revolve around the 4 whiskies that we had in the packs. So we have a variety of cask samples. So these are not whiskies that are available, that are, part of vattings or necessarily planned to be bottled. You have selected these?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. And it's great to be able to select some older cask samples, from 17 up to 20 years of age.
To check your notes.
I checked my notes just to make sure. It was a long time ago since I selected these, only a couple of weeks ago probably. Ex-bourbon and ex-sherry, something that really works well with our spirit character. To get to this stage where we can share some older Kilchomans is fantastic after 20 odd years of inception. I've always been showing some old, young, vibrant whiskies, and now I can showcase some older ones, which is a great place to be.
Good, yeah. So bourbons, sherries, you recommend, I think you said before we started that you recommend people pouring all of them?
Yeah, I think to allow them to open up to get the full benefit. There's 2 releases from 100% Islay. The cask samples are from our own barley, an ex-bourbon and an ex-sherry, and 2 from more heavily peated from Port Ellen at 50 parts per million of phenols. So a real contrast of characters from Kilchoman.
And hopefully you have some questions. Hopefully you, if you do have some questions, put them in the chat wherever you're watching this. Catherine, who's behind the camera, will magically feed them to my phone, and I'll mainly be asking you the questions. Okay. I think really I wouldn't presume to know the answer to anything.
So some of you might be here on Islay who are joining in, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow at our open day. So it's been a busy few days getting everything ready for tomorrow. The team have done a fantastic job, and we're in warehouse 1 where we have a lot of the casks that we use in the vattings that we're putting together, and then we've got our other warehouses further up the road here on site, and we've set up for the masterclass tomorrow, and we're looking forward to welcoming as many as you that are here on Islay as possible. The weather is fantastic. Don't expect it to always be like this. It's unusual for it to be so warm and dry, but it's great to experience it once in a while.
Makes a nice change.
Yeah.
Yeah, the island seems busy.
Yeah, no, it does. And, we're looking forward to working with some new faces, as well as those who've been coming back regularly. And
what's been going on the farm and around the distillery? You want to give people a bit of an update on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we've sown our barley for this year's crop, and it's starting to sprout. We could do a little bit more rain, but then a lot of people say, well, actually, it's quite nice not to have that. But when you plant it, you sow it, you need a bit of rain to just get it started. And we haven't had a lot of that in the last sort of 6 weeks, have we really? And so, and production's going as well as possible. we've reduced production a little bit, but not a lot. We're at 400,000 litres now instead of 650. That's just the way the market is at the moment. And you could argue that, you know, in the downturn, you keep producing, so you've got plenty of stock when the market turns around. But we've taken the decision that we just reduce it slightly and see how things go in the next sort of 6 months to a year.
Yeah. People might be interested to know, like, how things like the war in the Middle East and the tariff situation, stuff like that, how's that affected, you know, what we're doing here in terms of, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think
maybe it hasn't affected it at all.
No, it certainly has. I mean, everybody's been affected by the war in Iran, and we especially due to the amount of fuel we use to power the distillery, and that's doubled in price since end of last year.
Despite all the solar panels that are going up everywhere. Yeah. Well, we do on sunny days like now, like today.
Yeah,
we'll be entirely
generating
electric, won't we? But the boiler is still needs.
Yeah, we still need to power the production with the boiler, and you know, we're looking at alternative ways of doing that. It's a bit more challenging here on an island, but we're certainly looking at different ways that we might be able to power the distillery in a more sustainable way.
Yeah. Good. And tariffs? Any Americans?
Yeah, well, obviously,
you know, you're back in our good books.
So. Well, we've been told that they're coming off. Obviously, the king who visited,
let's not go
but we're waiting for that decision to be taken.
No, we won't do that.
No, I don't think it might not happen. But that'll be a great thing. No, they're not off yet, but we'll wait to hear about that. But it'll be a great fillip to the industry as a whole if when they're reduced.
When they are.
Yeah.
Good. Well.
Yeah.
So we discuss the first one.
Yeah. So the first one you're going to try is the 18-year-old cask number 93 of 2008, produced all from our own barley, which we grow on the farm here at Rockside at Kilchoman. I think you know, I'm especially proud of the fact that we look after every part of the process with these casks that we fill. It only represents between about 15-20% of our production.
Well, it's a bit more now.
Well,
that's at full production, 15-20%.
Yeah, and it's a little bit more now.
Because we don't, when the production levels go up and down, the amount of whiskey we produce from the barley, we just make as much whiskey as we can from the barley we grow, don't we? So we're on those slightly lower years, we produce a bit more as a proportion of the total.
Yeah, and I think we want to produce more, and we've got a drainage plan to bring more of our fields into production. So that's a good thing, and to look forward to in the future.
Yeah, but these are, so it is still pretty unique, isn't it? I mean, I don't know if people do, maybe there'll be an odd person watching from other distilleries that maybe are single estate or you know, maybe use locally grown barley, but you know, in our eyes, this is certainly unique on Islay because we do the whole process, don't we? We are growing it behind that wall. It's malted again just behind that wall. And then everything happens here, doesn't it?
So we take it right through maturation and bottling before we send it off to different markets around the world. So look, I think it was always my idea that we needed a point of difference and something that made us stand out from the crowd, and we certainly have done that here on Islay. And you know, there's other distilleries that talk about growing barley and they might not malt it and everything. I think we're proud of the fact that we take it through every stage, and that's pretty unique still in the industry, and certainly here on Islay.
And how important is the fact that we do have control of those elements? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's great that we do it, but does it really affect the whiskey? Do you know what I mean? Well, I'm sort of playing devil's advocate. I mean, I know it has some impact on the whiskey, but you know, that control that we have of each level, you feel that we add to the whiskies at each level?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I believe so. And I think, you know, the attention that the guys give to every part of the process, you know, from the guys up with Islay and the farm and deciding, you know, the barley variety we're going to use, and then maybe experimenting with different barley varieties in the same field, which we've done on a few occasions, and then putting those through the stills and seeing the difference in the character from that, the different barley variety, controlling every aspect of the malting, you know, unpeated. We're doing a lot more unpeated now, than we've done in the past. So we're looking forward to releasing unpeated releases from our own barley. And then, at some point in the future, we're trying to do a bit more heavily peated, but that's a bit further away. I think for me, when we started the distillery, we thought we could do the whole lot here at Kilchoman and produce everything from our own barley, but that wasn't going to be the case. But it's great to be able to do a percentage of it. And, having been in the wine trade, this is like a sort of chateau bottled.
The Scots love it when you call it chateau bottled.
Chateau bottled, do they? Yeah. Or single estate? Yeah. Would they prefer that?
I don't know.
Single estate. And I think that's key. And I think, look, everybody...
Single farm.
Single farm, single malt. And we call it that. And I think everybody involved in the distillery who looks after a part of the process are hugely proud of these releases. Yeah. And, they are lighter and fresher and fruitier than from the core expressions. And we got 2 of these today in different casks, Bourbon, First Fill Bourbon. This is from First Fill Bourbon from 2000 and, when did I say? 2008. Well, 2008 was the the second year that we actually produced, because don't forget, and I'm sure people remember, we had a fire after we...
I don't know what you're talking about.
In 2006, in February 2006, which knocked us off our stride for a year. So it was only 2007 that we got underway properly.
Anyway, we've got some questions.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
Change the subject.
Change the subject. Why are you changing the subject? Why is he changing the subject?
No, I'm not.
I was on the mid-flow.
John Bourne has a question about reduced production levels. Does that mean shorter days or fewer days?
It's fewer days. So we're doing 5 full days, 24-hour days, instead of 7, which we were doing in 2025. And, I think that's just a reaction to the market. And I think clearly at the moment it's quite challenging out there. And I don't think there's any end game at the moment for saying, well, it's going to turn around now, because I think at the moment the world is a pretty uncertain place. And we'll just wait and see. But as soon as we see a chink of light, we'll be back up into production and having more confidence, I think.
Yeah. And then, so apparently some people in the US haven't got their packs yet, but
they're on their way,
drinking along, just in spite of that. And yeah, if you do receive the packs and then you have some questions when maybe you are watching this back, please do ask the questions, because we will answer them. Yeah. Just not live like this. But look, this is pretty good.
Well, I think, for me, 17, 18 years of age, and, expect it to have more cask influence.
Yeah.
But it hasn't really. And it's, everybody who's tasted our spirit will agree, hopefully, that, that our spirit character is very clean and floral and quite sweet. Mm-hmm. That would translate, if you fill into good quality wood, first fill wood, and first refills, that it'll mature, relatively soon. But I'm really pleased with this, because still the character of the spirit coming through. Yeah. There's not so much influence from the cask. You still get, there's a bit of vanilla there now, but there's still that citrus note coming through, and just this wonderful sweet floral character. Yeah. Very well balanced. Obviously, that's something I use quite a lot. And at 50, I think it's 50.4%.
But these are cask strength, aren't they?
These are full cask strength samples. So, I think this, I can tell this is from 100% Islay, because it's that floral character, that sort of vibrancy about it, even at this age.
And we always keep everything that we, all the barley that we grow here, and that is malted and then distilled here, is always kept separate from the malted barley that we are buying at the higher peating level.
Yes. All the way through the process, so that we don't mix the two at all.
And this is 20 ppm, isn't it?
This is 20 ppm.
Approximately.
Well, could be 50.
You're not a scientist.
Well, we don't try and be scientists, and it's really up to how long the guys load up the
When
kiln.
was the last time we actually had it?
No, we test it quite regularly. No, we do independently. We go.
Well, I mean, just
so nearly fell off.
And it's pretty accurate, even with the because the new
it varies
and the new kiln turner and
that's made a bit of difference. In the old days when we used, some people remember when we had the first kiln, we had to load it up pretty deep, and therefore the peat didn't get through as well. And now that we have a turner that goes through the kiln floor, it means that everything is peated to the same level.
And you mentioned unpeated versions of our 100% Islay, homegrown barley expressions. What about sort of more heavily peated? So up 80, 100 and more ppm. Have you thought about that? Is that something you want to do?
I think we will look at that ourselves, or you're talking about our own.
Well, because we have the ability to to do that.
We do, and I think it's something we will look at. I think down the line.
I get asked about that a lot.
Yeah, and it's something we can do, and maybe should look at a little bit more seriously. Do a couple of batches of very heavily peated.
Yeah, and so essentially this is peated for 12 hours, approximately.
12 to 15 hours.
Yeah, and that achieves a peating level of 20 ppm.
Yeah.
And this is a lighter peating level compared to.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this age, though, you would argue that the peat is starting. It's still there, but it's now starting to submerge into the cask.
Well, there's very little on the nose.
Yeah, but on
it's very bright and fruity on the nose. But it comes through as a little saltier and peatier on the palate, isn't it?
On the palate. I think even the young 100% Islas that we've released, you argue that on the nose you don't get a lot of peat smoke saltiness coming through. And it tends to be on the palate that you do get it to come through.
But there's plenty of smoke, isn't there?
Yeah.
How this is
17.
17.
No, it's 18.
18 years old.
My notes. I can't
and
remember.
it's a first fill
bourbon barrel. So you would
a surprising amount of smoke, isn't there? It is prominent.
Yeah.
Because everyone 20 ppm would be considered a sort of moderate medium light peating level. Yet it and especially at 18 years old, we would always say that the peat subsides, but there's plenty of smoke there, isn't there?
Well, don't get carried away. It's not hugely peaty, but it's there. It's sort of. I think it's there, but I don't think it's as powerful as say
okay, maybe when we
So when we taste it,
I'm just surprised with it being a fresh cask, 18 years old, 20 ppm.
Yeah, no, sure.
It is. Maybe it's more salty than it is.
I think
smoky.
salty rather than peat smoke, probably.
Yeah, but nice, and it still has some way to go.
Yeah, no,
so you can...
I mean, I'm surprised how well it's showing in terms of its character, because I would probably expect it to be a little bit more of the cask influence coming through than is showing. So, no, great dram. I look forward to hearing the comments.
Yeah, and if you. We're no good at...
Look at your phone.
As a I will look at my phone.
He's not looking at his phone.
As a family, I'd say we're not very good at necessarily elaborate tasting notes. So one of the good things I always enjoy about these tastings and tastings in general, but particularly these tastings, is that people come up with quite elaborate tasting notes and descriptive words for these whiskies. So if you have any weird and wacky tasting notes, please put them in the comments. We'd be interested to hear, and we might steal them for our next tasting notes that we have to do. So a couple of questions. Keep these quick.
Okay. No.
Is the unpeated spirit produced after cleaning the stills, or will there still be a hint of peat from the previous distillations?
We don't clean the stills from each run, that's for sure. But I think we have separate low wines and faints receivers. So we keep the spirit that we collect off the stills separate. Yeah, you can argue there might be a touch, but very, very little. And it'll be lost when it comes through into the low wines and faints receiver.
I guess these aren't like, so when we're switching spirits, generally it's at least a couple of weeks of production that we're doing, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when those are filled into casks, and maybe there's some variants cask to cask, but
you can
generally
argue,
speaking, there would be quite a short grey.
You can argue that the first few casks maybe, or
distillation run,
distillation run there might be, but on the whole, I think if you have separate low wines and faints receivers, therefore you're keeping them pretty separate.
Yeah.
That's short enough.
Yep. Lovely dram. Would love to know where the bourbon barrels are sourced.
Yeah, well, in those days, they were sourced all from Buffalo Trace. It was something that
08.
'08, yeah. So
we
one of
must
the
have started about then.
Yeah, about middle of '07, I think we started buying from Buffalo Trace or sourcing them from Buffalo Trace, and that was Jim Swan, who had good contacts in the bourbon industry and felt that, and once we'd got going as a new distillery, I think, most companies wanted to see the track record a little bit before they would let us. So we bought in the initial stages in 2005, when we only filled 7 casks, to middle of 2007, it was Speyside cooperage, and you get good quality, but then you're getting a cask from a variety of different casks. So it was great to be able to source them direct from one distillery in Kentucky.
And that supply was disrupted a little bit, wasn't it, in the last sort of 3-4 years?
Yeah, 3 or 4 years when the industry, the whiskey industry went mad, and the supply became difficult, and Buffalo Trace decided they wanted to keep all their casks in-house because they have a number of distilleries around the world, and we had to outsource to cooperages, which was an issue for us for a bit. And now we're back on track, and actually we're now buying from a small family-run cooperage in Kentucky, and we're sourcing Buffalo Trace's casks again, and they're readily available again, and the prices come right down.
Good news for everyone.
Yes.
How long would you continue to mature this? So that is a question. So how long will you continue? I think I mentioned this has got a bit to go. Because it still has that saltier side.
Yeah, I mean,
would you look to back that with something that's maybe a little bit more fruit forward, or would you just leave that? What do you have in mind?
I mean, I think that's a conversation you have with people who are going to consume it. But from my own point of view, that's lovely, fantastic dram, and why would you leave it necessarily longer? Yes, you can argue that you could take it out another couple of years and it'll still be a fantastic dram without too much influence cask. I'm a great believer that too much cask influence, too much cask influence, I don't believe helps the distillery characters shine through. And
so you want it to bottle it at the point where the cask has distinctly impacted on the whiskey, but this distillery character is still present.
It's still there, and it's certainly still present with this, and will be for another year or two, I'm sure.
Good. And then there was a question, do you choose your barley variety based on profile of the barley or the predicted spirit yield?
No, on how it's going to perform in our extreme weather conditions here. And so it needs to be short in the stem and withstand the weather conditions that we have. But we tend to follow the varieties that the Scottish barley growers use around the country, and we've had about 4 or 5 or 6 different varieties that we've used over the years.
I always think of the barley varieties in a way like that we certainly don't choose them off a piece of paper in terms of how they how the spirit is created from that barley variety. You know what I mean? But it's very interesting to see. I certainly remember certain varieties have a much heavier, maltier style, and then also varieties are a bit lighter and more floral. We aren't necessarily sowing the barley with particular characteristics in mind, but just in a way that is interested in how that different barley varieties that inevitably change over the years just have that subtle difference on the whiskey and then mature. And
but I think I'm a great believer that you can show those differences at the spirit's safe. And what?
We've been told we're 23 minutes on the first round. So.
By Catherine?
Yeah, she's getting bossy.
Oh, right. Catherine, do you want to come in front of the camera?
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Okay,
so
we
need to
Right, okay, we're into number 2.
Number 2. And this is really quite a special cask, isn't it?
Yeah, so
06,
this is an 06. So this is the 23rd cask filled.
23rd?
Yes.
You just said we filled 5 casks.
No, 7.
Did you say 5 or 7?
I said 7.
We'll have to rewind.
We filled 7 casks in 2005, and this is number 16, which means it's the 23rd cask filled at the distillery. Okay?
Yeah. Is the maths right on that?
Well, I think so.
It's been a long day.
Anyway, that's right.
Yeah. So 23rd cask filled. So this really is. Can you remember the 20?
Yes.
Back.
Yeah, I mean,
you were not so grey.
Not so grey, and 20 years younger, and in the prime of my life.
In the prime of your life. Right. Yeah, well,
and look, I think
this whiskey is, in its prime as well.
Yeah, no, it is, and when you look at the colour, it's these both from first fill casks. Okay, this is a little bit younger, the first one we tried, but this is 20 years of age, and this just has a bit more power, a bit more depth of character. Yeah. You're certainly getting something that's completely different in terms of style.
It's richer, isn't it?
It's much richer than the more delicate floral character of our own barley grown here. And I'm delighted that was the case. I mean, I think it showcases how different the two expressions are. The heavily peated, 50 ppm that we're trying now, number 2, and only 20 on the first. So this has a richer, this first fill cask was probably a little bit more active than this one. There's a couple of years between them, so maybe that'll, and it's getting a little, there's still that salty character on the back of the, you get that coming through a lot more on the nose. You don't get much on the 100% Islay, that our own barley. And I think there's more interaction with the cask with this.
There's more
sort of caramel notes,
exactly,
maybe, and a bit of vanilla. But the citrus note's still there, and the peat and the salt. It's now, I think, more salty than peaty and briny. I think it's just got that on the back of the palate. You're still on Islay. I always was of the impression that by 15 years of age, Kilchoman would be at its peak.
Yeah,
but
I remember you saying this for years.
But now I've changed my mind, and these are still showcasing the Kilchoman characters.
It's interesting because they go, especially these first fill casks, you taste them at 12, 14 years old, you go, oh, they're very vibrant. I'd say they sort of almost have like 90% of the flavour that this has, and you think that, okay, well, a couple more years and this will be maybe over the top, but it doesn't really prove to be the case, does it? They really kind of, much of that development slows down after that sort of 15-year-old period, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and things happen a bit slower, and
it's fantastic to taste these and I'm being proven wrong, that by 18, 19, 20, 21 years of age, the wood will be right at the forefront, and the distillery character would have been submerged, but it isn't at all. And this is just wonderfully big, rich, and the characteristics that we're looking for are still there and coming through.
Yeah. And this is 50 ppm?
50 ppm.
And this is made from?
Port Ellen. Yeah. Port Ellen malt that we were buying up until 2020.
By which you mean malted barley?
Malted barley.
Bought from the Port Ellen maltings.
From the
here in Islay.
Yeah.
Pieces to 50 ppm. Most likely grown on the mainland of the UK, maybe Scotland, maybe England, but mainland UK.
And I think the important thing, using Islay peat, which is key.
Yeah. So I mean, everything we produce here is from Islay peat, isn't it?
Yes.
And that is important. I mean, are you a big believer in the regionality of peat?
Yeah, no, definitely, because I think the West Coast, Campbelltown, all the way up, up Skye and further afield, the weather conditions are very different. And there's a lot of salt in the air, and that impregnates the peat in the ground, and there's a lot of salt and rich characteristics come through. And you could argue that peat that's dug on the East Coast is more wood chip, wood smoke style, so it's softer and richer.
And peat long term, what are we?
Oh, we're now getting into that. Sorry.
Well, people are interested to know.
Yeah, I mean, I think
what are your thoughts in terms of, are we going to be able to continue using peat?
I think.
Where are we going to source it from?
I think the big companies here on Islay have done a fantastic job in educating and spending money on the sustainability of the peat here we have and use, and how important it is to the industry here on Islay. And so a lot of work's been done in showing everybody that we're doing it in a sustainable way, and that we can hopefully continue, because we're looking after the peat as we
Yeah, because the peat regenerates, but it does regenerate slowly.
No, very slowly.
But Islay is
One big peat bog.
a big peat bog, yeah.
Yes, the distilleries are using it. In the old days, it was every household on Islay had their own peat bank for all their cooking and their heat source. So, I mean, it's something that everybody has to look at seriously, and we're looking at that as well.
Yep. I'm being told that.
Lots of questions. He's not actually looking at his phone much, is he?
No. There are lots of questions. Slightly contradictory information coming in from Catherine here, but so I think there's been. I think So if you're in the US and you haven't got your pack, it is on the way. There's any number of reasons that it might have been slightly delayed, but it's on the way, and we apologise for that. What's that?
The recording will be available straight after this.
Yeah, the recording will be available straight after this, is what Catherine said.
They probably heard that.
Yeah, well, I thought so. But Catherine never shows her face. So,
No, we know that as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So out of these two, where do you feel your sort of preferences are? And
Well, I think they're representative of Kilchoman in two different styles. I think the light floral, fruity character that is a wonderful dram and is still showing all those characteristics I'm looking for in a Kilchoman. And then the second dram that you've tried, which is a 20-year-old, just has a lot more richness and power, but it's very soft, very sweet, very floral, and still maintains those Kilchoman characters, being a bit more submerged, lemon, citrus, sweetness.
A bit of water really softens it a bit.
Yeah.
You get more of the sort of stone fruits and a bit more. It has real richness to it.
Yeah.
Whereas the 100% Islay tends to be a bit more sort of creamy. It has a bit more kind of like shortbready.
You're really coming out with the adjectives.
Oh yeah. Well, I had a couple of beers beforehand. But generally speaking, there is quite a clear distinction, even though everything else is exactly the same apart from the source of the barley and the peating level. So by which I mean, both of these whiskies are fermented for the same period of time with the same yeast, distilled in the same way, with the same cut points, matured in first fill bourbon barrels.
Yes.
So
there's, we've stuck pretty rigidly to what Jim Swan's set up. We have experimented a bit with barley varieties I've already talked about, peating levels, but yeast varieties, we've experimented with different yeast varieties, and I've always come back to the one that Jim put us onto in the first instance, the Press Pinnacle yeast, which just gives us that character we're looking for. We tried dried yeast and we've had great results from that. It gives a little bit more fruity character, but on the whole, we've stuck pretty rigidly, and the cut points as well. We have changed the cut points a little on occasions, but very rarely.
You mentioned that the other day. I didn't know that. Is it top secret?
There you go, top secret. Robin and I are the only ones to know. But no, we've only done it when we were running the stills on two different barley varieties that we changed the cut points a bit for the sassy barley variety. We thought it just needed a bit longer.
Okay, so take in a bit more of this
heavier, oily.
So that's an example where sassy is very light and floral, isn't it? And Laureate as a barley variety, so sassy barley variety. Laureate is a different barley variety.
Yeah.
Laureate's quite heavy, quite malty.
Yes. And sassy is much lighter. But I think on the whole, we've stuck with barley varieties. I mean, Concerto is one that we stuck with for about 5 or 6 years. And then that's been superseded by other varieties that have come through. And yes, there is, I think we're always looking at the back end, and we've got people that are very interested in the back end of production. But I think I'm a great believer that if you produce a spirit character, and it's pretty similar, because that's really key to the style of the spirit you want to produce. And then, I'm a great believer that the cask plays a massive influence on the style, and Olorosa Sherry and ex-bourbon work so well with our spirit character and throughout the industry. But obviously, experimental cask is something that we also do a lot of as well.
This is a big question. What is your sort of like philosophy in terms of how the spirit and the cask come together? Because there is a wide variety of different approaches now in the industry. There are distilleries that use multiple peating levels and 3 or 4 different cask types. We don't do that. We tend to be one spirit type, and more often than not, 1 or 2 cask types, 3 maybe absolute maximum, and on only specific occasions. Is that a deliberate choice you have in that, you know, sort of a sort of not a simplistic approach, but a sort of a cleaner, more uncomplicated approach?
Well, we use a lot of different.
We use a lot of different casks, but we typically bottle them as individual maturations.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas some distilleries would use multiple peating levels, combine those, and in multiple casks, and combine those.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always taken the view, which was Jim instilled in me, was that, you know, fill ex-bourbon and ex-Oloroso sherry, use them twice, and you'll get the most out of those at that point. We now fill second and third fill, but not very many. And it was always a view that you know, Kilchoman's spirit character would develop and mature relatively quickly. But this is changing. This will change people's views, because when you taste these 18 and 20-year-olds, you know, you could argue that they're still going out there, even in first fill. So, look, I mean, I think when we set out, I always said to Jim, you know, for a point of difference, we need to be filling cask types for full maturation rather than finishing. And we've done that on the whole. Of course, we've done finishes, but on the whole, we've filled other cask types, and they tend to be fortified wine casks, because the higher strength binds the character together a bit more. And, you know, that is the fun part of what we're doing. But it's funny how the industry always talks about finishes, because that's what's been done throughout the industry for a long time. But I think people understand that we do full maturation, and probably only for a maximum of 7 or 8 years, because that's all it needs.
By full maturation, you mean like the Moree cask maturation?
Moree that's just been released.
Which is not a finish, it's only matured.
Fully matured, but only for under 5 years. And I think people, you know, you just have to understand that you release it when it's ready, rather than waiting until it's overcooked. I don't know how we're doing for time.
We're good.
Okay.
So there's a question about would we be? I remember during the COVID pandemic, we did a cut point tasting pack.
Oh yeah.
Where we tasted like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe 60 minutes or something like that. They're asking, would we be willing to do it again?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, funny enough, at our 20th anniversary weekend that we had for our distributors and folk, you know, they went into the distillery, and so many people, including journalists, said, "Christ, this is really interesting. We've never done this before in a distillery." And actually tasting the spirit at different points of the cut is fantastic, because, you know, the front is fresh and fruity and floral, and the back end it's oilier and heavier congeners coming through. So, you know, I think it's a great way of educating people. And our cut points are quite narrow, but that's all about the spirit character we want to fill into cask.
There you go. Do you have? You mentioned narrow cut points. Do you do narrower cut points when releasing younger whiskies? So
No.
Are they narrow? Do you produce or set up the still as cut points to then? We just produce one style of one.
I think, you know, the stills play a massive part in the character of the spirit you collect in any distillery you have. And our stills were small. I mean, some of the smallest stills in Scotland, and tall, narrow necks with a boil bulb. And, you know, if you distill quite slowly, you only collect the lighter alcohol. So this is all about telling Jim, you know, well, it would be handy if we could release it at a relatively young age. And so it doesn't mean that you know, at the end of the day, it was about hopefully releasing at a young age, and it would be well received. And fortunately for us, the market was changing its views on young age, non-aged single malts, and so the market opened up for us. But it's great to be in a position now where we have some seriously older casks to now put together and release and showcase the general public, because, it's been 20 years in the making this, and it takes a while to build up inventory, and we've managed to achieve that now.
Yeah, because we'll taste this, and then I'll.
Yes,
ask
we
you
should
some
get
more
on with it,
questions.
shouldn't we?
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
So we have we've tasted 2 bourbon casks, and now we have 2 sherry casks.
Yeah.
Kind of mirroring number 1 and number 2. This is 100% Islay.
Yeah.
Made from our own barley, and then we have a sherry cask which is produced from our the barley we buy in. So
this is interestingly a refill cask, a refill Oloroso Sherry Butt from 2009. It's 17 years of age, and again, you get all that fresh sort of floral note coming through, and the sherry's there, but it's not sort of hitting you, smacking you in the face. It's very integrated. It's
soft.
Got soft. Color is sort of rich, so you'd immediately think it was in a sort of darker type of cask, and it's still got a sort of citrus note there. I mean, I get a citrus note.
It's still fragrant. I always fragrant floral. 100% Islay with almost perfumed.
Cool. And on the back of the palate, the saltiness is there.
Yeah.
But it's now, I would say, it's not as prominent as in the ex-bourbon barrels. It's more integrated and into the cask type, and at 17 years of age, this is for me, it's sort of reached its peak.
Yeah. So you'll be thinking about bottling this, will you?
No, for myself, probably.
And this is an Oloroso, a refill Oloroso sherry cask.
Yes. And
it didn't come from our now established sherry producer Miguel Martin. This is a cask we bought in
the early days, and I'm trying to think about the first year we bought from Miguel Martin, but it was around 2009, 2010.
Okay.
Then we had better quality, a consistent character of wood coming in.
So this is a bit of an anomaly in terms of...
Yeah, but we've still got a few of these in the warehouse, which is fantastic. And we'll be able to do something with these. I think we've got 8 or 9 of them, so that's great. And I think you'll be very pleased that I've been so good at managing the stock in the warehouse, and that we've managed to secure...
There are a few holes in it.
Well, there are a few holes, but there would be when you started bottling at 3 years of age.
Yeah, I mean, to give people an idea, I was looking at the stock the other day. I think 80% of our whiskey is still less than kind of 8 years old.
Yeah.
In terms of, because we started in 2005 and we start at
50.
Well, 5 casks, 7 casks.
Well, 7 casks in 2005, and then 50,000 litres in 2006,
and it slowly builds
70,
up.
80,000, and every year from our start, we've increased production.
But we've been bottling that stock.
We've been bottling it, so it's been quite interesting times when the market, sales were obviously increasing in a steady way, and we were sort of getting concerned about our stock levels. So in a way, the downturn helped us re-establish stock levels, but it'd be nice to get back on track now.
Yeah. So these older casks that we have, kind of, I guess maybe 2016, 18, kind of going back from there. The idea is to bottle those within this kind of new range, which is going to be coming called the Kilchoman Family Collection.
Yeah.
And that will be, I'm not sure any of these casks are necessarily going into that.
No, the 20-year-old, I think this cask has gone into it. Yeah. The 16 of 2006 has gone into the Family Collection.
Okay.
The 20-year-old. Yeah.
So that'll be, the idea is to, with these casks where we have very few, because in some of these years we have 20, 30 casks total. The idea is to keep on, bottle them in enough to kind of show people how it's developing, but keep on taking those ages out. There'll be a 20-year-old in this year's, collection, and hopefully we can keep on going 21, 22.
Yeah, no, I think that would be the aim. I think But the bulk obviously would be bottled at a slightly younger age. But you want to manage your stock, so you carry on aging it, some of it for a long time.
Yeah, and this is Oloroso sherry.
This is Oloroso sherry, and it's a refill, but so it's not bringing through all that big power and fruit. But for me, you know, it showcases, you know, our Kilchoman from our own barley variety. Just this light floral, zesty character, and easy drinking. This doesn't have so much power from the sherry, so you don't getting a lot of barbecue notes or smoky bacon characteristics. It's just very pure and very clean.
Has a spicy note to it, doesn't it?
On the back of the sort
of almost like you know, but still has some of that richness, the sort of dark chocolate. And,
yeah, that's a great dram.
Peppery, nice. Yeah.
You're not looking at your phone anymore.
Well, I keep on keeping an eye.
Is he? Is he supposed to be?
No, he's doing okay.
Oh, is he? We're not getting many questions.
Positive comments that the sherry isn't overpowering.
Yeah.
It's not, is it? It's there.
No, it's there.
It's strange. I've tasted that sort of
peppery note on the back of...
Yeah, peppery, you know, black pepper, spicy note.
I think everyone has to realize, you know,
usually
sherry...
there's more sweetness with the Olorosos, isn't there?
Yeah, and maybe these sherry casks were slightly different. I'm not sure of where these were
maybe
sourced from, but maybe Speyside cooperage, and therefore, you know, the consistency isn't there. So you're getting some casks that you're not sure of the history of them. And this is a refill.
I like it, but it's unfamiliar to me. Yeah. Some of those notes, because the older sherry casks that I've tasted from us in the past tend to be more. They have a spiciness to them, but it's more of a cinnamon sweetness, bit more kind of maybe it's slightly New Oak perhaps or something like that. There's a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think you get a lot more consistency with ex-bourbon barrels, and maybe there's a little bit more variance with sherry casks. And I think when we go to select the casks for maybe sort of Loch Gorm, you know that you've got to look through all the casks that you're going to use to just make sure they're all consistent in character that you're looking for.
So is there an ideal age for Kilchoman? Would there be a difference for bourbon versus sherry or any other cask types?
Well, I think if it's first fill or refill, that makes a difference. You can take them up a bit further with refill. But look, I think it's easy for me to turn around and say, well, I like Kilchoman. Actually, I like Kilchoman at a younger age.
Oh, God, you should be a politician.
No, I don't think
so. A first fill bourbon barrel, when would you say best age?
Look,
if you had to pick one.
My own view would be about 9-10 years of age.
9-10, okay. A refill bourbon?
Refill bourbon, 12 to 15. But you know, having tasted these,
18, 19,
you know, these are so that doesn't ring true completely.
Okay. And then a first fill sherry butt, fresh,
probably about between 14 and 16 years of age.
Refill,
and you can take those out to about 20.
And a first fill hogshead, Oloroso hogshead.
A lot earlier, so you know, 7 or 8, 7 or 8, and a refill about 12.
Okay, there we go. We got an answer.
But don't. That's just.
And how many times would you refill a cask typically?
Well, on the whole, we've filled first refill, but we do now.
So when we say refill, we mean
a first refill. Yeah. So
it's
we
used,
then
it's the second time we've used them.
Yes, the second time we've used them here. We don't buy in refills. We reuse what we've got, and now we're filling a few seconds.
Second refill, as in the third time we've used it.
Third time we've used it. So we're doing that, and that will take them out a bit further. So we hope that we're getting a stock profile across the ranges from, 8 years of age to 14, and then 20 to 25, 30.
Because ultimately, you probably want 60-70% fresh casks.
Yeah.
30% refills, 10% second refills.
That's the sort of, but that will change over time, and depending on the direction we're going. And the first 15 years we're pretty set on, fresh as much as possible, because we were releasing it at a relatively young age. Now we're changing our view slightly and moving the whiskey out a bit further.
People are enjoying the fact that I'm getting some detailed answers out of you.
Are they?
For a change.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean I don't normally give a detailed answer?
Well, you like to sort of say yes, but no. Yes, but no.
This isn't being recorded, so you can't hold me to it anyway.
And so that the third one we tried is, I can't remember the age.
The age of the third is 17 years of age.
17-year-old.
Yes.
20 ppm,
20
grown
ppm,
barley
our
from
own
here.
barley.
Refill Oloroso
sherry.
But
and we've got about 8 or 9 of them, which is great that we've got that number. Actually.
8 or 9 doesn't seem like that.
Refills.
Many. Yeah.
We got some first fill. But but not many either, because we weren't producing a huge amount from our own barley, and now we've upped that amount.
And so for the last one here, we have a first fill.
Yes.
Sherry butt, which is actually a lower strength. So this is 50%,
50.4
versus the previous, which was 54.
Yeah.
It's a bit more. There's a bit more punch on the nose.
Yeah,
isn't there?
it's a bit punchier. This colour's pretty similar.
Well, it's a bit dark. Is it a bit darker?
Pretty similar.
No, it's
a bit dark. Well, it's a bit darker. Different character. It's probably a little sort of on the nose. You could argue it still needs time to develop on the nose. It's funny for a first fill, but
it's interesting. First time around, I was like, wasn't. These are very contrasting sherry casks, aren't they?
Completely different. You've got something here now. Not you compare with the first and second, when from our own barley, the first and second from the 50 ppm and 20. There's a similar, they are that different in terms of their character. At the higher peating level, you're getting more sort of saltiness and barbecue notes coming through on this, than you did on the third one, which was fresher and fruitier and a little bit of peppery note on the back of the palate.
Yeah.
This has sweeter, more sherry notes coming through. And I talk about smoky bacon, barbecue on a beach. There is that coming through. You still got those salty, briny notes on the back of the palate.
So this is an 07 cask. So this wouldn't be a Miguel Martin cask either.
No, it won't. No.
These older casks are a bit more. There's a bit more. Well, there's less information about the.
Yeah, we don't have the heritage of these because they're not direct from the supplier, which we started. I think it was 2009, 10, but I'll have to look back.
There's just a lot more. It's almost. I feel like it's oak influence on this.
You could argue there's just a little bit more wood influence with this.
That's literally exactly what I said.
You didn't. You said oak. I said wood.
You could argue. Yeah. I don't dislike this.
Well, I'm glad you don't.
No, but I don't know. The first time around, I really preferred the third one over the fourth one.
No, this has opened up a bit more. It's been in the glass for 48 minutes.
So we need to repeat the age, apparently.
Oh, for this, it's 18 years of age.
This is 18 years.
This is 18 years of age.
It's 50 ppm.
50 ppm.
Heavily peated. First fill, Oloroso sherry butt.
And we don't know its heritage particularly. We were buying from the Speyside Cooperage at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what are your thoughts on this? In terms of,
I like the depth of character. I like the fact that there's still that Islay sort of saltiness coming through. Peat smoke's now sort of submerged into the wood influence, but it has a slightly sort of funky.
But I don't
character on the back
that.
of the palate. Just I don't know. I can't describe it, but on the back of the palate, there's a slightly funky influence.
And so when you come to look at it, because most of our whiskey is not bottled as single casks. These are pin drops in a variety of different cask types. So when you taste these, does your mind go to, I can take that and I'll find a fruity cask and I can get the best of both of those? Or when you're choosing casks at these older ages to marry together, are you looking for casks that have a certain similarity, or am I oversimplifying it and you just try and pick the best casks that you're in the warehouse?
I think for individual cask selection.
Well, just say you're looking to choose 3 or 4 casks to combine together. For example, for the the Kilchoman family collection, that those are typically small collections of casks at these older age statements. We don't have very many. Do you just go in and you just pick the best ones that are there, or are you picking well, that one's salty and briny and
I mean,
a
I
bit
think,
earthy, and this one's very light and fruity, and I can bring those together.
I think on the whole, these older ones, in some respects, if you get one that stands out from the crowd, you don't vat it. That's a single cask. I always feel if it stands out from the crowd, and then the others, you're hoping they're all going to differ slightly, and you try to bring together the characteristics going to work. Sort of more salty, more briny, maybe more barbecue character, but definitely if one is now giving through too much sherry notes, which we do find, we tend to re-rack those and hope that we can sort of get some of that sort of sherry influence out of them by putting them into a different cask type. Okay. But we don't have a lot of casks back here in these, certainly not sherry casks. 2007, we only producing about 70,000 litres in total. So the number that we filled into sherry were quite small. And we've used a lot of sherry casks in Sanig and in Mackay Bay. But Mackay Bay was released in 2012, and that has sherry influence. So we were taking a bit of stock for that early on, and the Sanig as well. So, stock levels weren't great in the early years, but we're building up that nicely now.
Yeah.
I talked around that question, I think, did I?
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Not unlike you.
Not unlike me, no.
So we have a couple of minutes left. So if you have any last questions, please throw them in there, and we'll have a quick fire question, if there are any. And then in the meantime, maybe you can tell people about the Fèis and what our Fèis Day is, and what the festival
I mean, I think
is, and how it's changed over the years. Because is it 40 years?
This is the 40th year of Fèis, and
which is the Islay Whiskey Festival.
Yeah, the Islay Whiskey Festival, and we've been doing it for 21 years. Our first one was in 2004. We put a marquee up.
You with a picture of this is the distillery I'm going to build,
and there's the building site there.
Yeah.
And everyone thinking I was completely mad. And then we've done it every year since. And I think for us, the Fèis is, it's a great opportunity to showcase Islay and the people of Islay and how welcoming everyone feels. I think that's the major thing, that people who come here really get embraced by everybody. And
it's
I think
a big focal point of the calendar.
It's a massive thing for Islay, and it is the busiest week of the year. For us, it's about welcoming people to see the distillery, a working distillery. So, we're in production. People can wander around and see and talk to the guys in production, in the still house, in the malt floor, in the warehouses, and really just sort of chill out and have a great day and drink a few of our drams. And again, the festival release, we feel it's important that those who make the effort to come to the distillery on our open day, we make it available to those who come to the distillery. And I think, I'm old-fashioned. I think that that helps to, make people come here and actually buy the bottle if they want to. And we don't make it available, and it normally sells through on the day. And look, I think for us, it's about enjoying the day with bands. We have playing the Islay Pipe Band that we sponsor come and play for us, and plenty of fun to be had. And this year, we know the weather's going to be fantastic.
You should have come this year. If you've never,
if you're not here, you're missing out, because
it's questionable whether you should come for the next 10 years, because the weather's going to be terrible.
And the weather today was, well, it probably wasn't that hot, but it was, it could have been well up to nearly 20 degrees, which is pretty unheard of. That's a heat wave on Islay. Look, I know that you won't be. Some of us probably will be joining us, and we look forward to welcome you. There's masterclasses, there's range tastings, and lots of fun to be had.
And I think we have exhausted our time, so we.
Back to the last few, maybe on the Friday.
Okay, we'll get back. Yeah, we will get back to you. Any questions that have come in. So apologies for running out of time,
but look, I mean, any of you that are on Islay, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And enjoying the day. And if they're not,
we'll
bad
see
luck.
All right.
Anyway,
have a good evening.
Yeah. Great.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So How are you going to do it?
You just
We'll show them out the door as well, maybe.
yeah, but you normally say buy in case we lose a signal.
Buy in case we lose a signal.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Am I going to do them? So this is all good. So this is our tasting setup in here. And this is a warehouse, so it's not perfect. Ignore all the dust and everything. And then we are just outside the still house. So if we go around here, we have the still house. We're still in production, so Fraser's in there working away. I'm not sure. I think it's Fraser and Kevin. And out there are some barley, some green barley growing. A couple of hares by the looks of it as well. And beautiful weather here on Islay. So if you're not coming for Fèis, you know, come another time of the year. We're not going anywhere. And we look forward to seeing you here sometime in the future. If not, where you are sat right now. So good evening. Goodbye. The end.